Hey, guy. Come on, man. Welcome to Fantasy Rush. I'm Mike. This is
Steve.
Owen. We call him Owen because he's 0-3 so far in our work league. But
This is Steve.
it's with affection.
Don't listen to this guy. I don't even know what he's talking about. It's not like I'm 0-5 or anything.
Not yet.
Hey, man.
Not yet.
Hey, man. Hush up, man. This is Steve.
I'm
He
Mike.
said, Mike, welcome to LATV's Fantasy Rush. We are 3 weeks in now in the season.
Yep,
And, man, everything's still a little crazy.
it is.
Um,
Guys, they're all over the place. The first segment that we have is targets galore. These guys are racking up targets. They're racking up catches in PPR leagues, in standard scoring leagues. The yards, the touchdowns. You know, the more times that you can get the ball in a player's hand, the more he's going to do with it.
for lack of better words, they're balling.
Yeah.
I mean, these are guys that they're not your normal. They're not your Julio Jones because we know
Yep.
they're gonna get targets. They're not your DeAndre Hopkins, your Calvin
Yep.
Johnsons. These are guys like Steve Smith
Yep.
who hasn't had big numbers thus far this year. So
Yeah.
he had 17 targets. That's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
17 targets. That was like Joe Flacco, just tunnel vision, just
Yeah.
Steve Smith, where is he? He's
Nonstop.
over here. I don't care who's over there. I'm just going here. I
No,
mean,
he had a great game.
He had a great game. I mean, Theo Riddick.
Riddick.
His Lions. But I mean,
That's why I threw him in there, man.
no, he is
Theo
a
Riddick.
Lion homer, but
Theo Riddick is the third back on that depth chart, and he got 10 looks in the passing game.
Yeah.
He caught 8 passes for 66 yards. He's only owned in 1% of leagues, but he racked up 15 points. So, I mean,
Yeah.
he was one of those running back sleepers with all these injuries going on.
he's valuable. I mean, in PPR leagues, he's valuable. Another back that's very similar, actually almost exactly the
Yeah.
same role, is Lance Dunbar.
Yep.
He was another guy that caught, that had 10 targets,
And
caught
10
all 10 of
catches.
them, got 100 yards. Greg Olsen, if you were holding on to
Finally.
Greg Olsen, not holding on to him, but maybe debating whether to start him or sit him, he had a great game.
Yeah.
Somebody in our league sat him last week, and it paid off for him. I mean, he didn't do anything last week.
Well, and the San Diego Keenan Allen roller coaster continues. He had a great game
man.
against my Lions.
18 targets.
And then he had a dud, and then this week,
Yeah.
he's back up.
He's either gonna. It seems like he's either gonna catch you almost 15 balls and get you 150 yards, or he's gonna fumble and not get you any points at all. So,
Yeah.
but he had a great game. Percy Harvin, one of your favorites.
One of my favorites. After week 1, I saw how Rex Ryan was starting to roll him out into the actual offense, and use him as an actual receiver rather than just a return threat or a diversion.
Yeah.
Rex Ryan is using his skill set, and I like him.
I know you're probably thinking Percy Harvin. Oh no, not that guy. He burned me last year. He
Yep.
burned me the year before. But Sammy Watkins got hurt. He's gonna probably miss a couple of weeks. So Percy Harvin is definitely somebody to keep an eye on. And he's a great player. He had 8 targets. He
He's
had
a playmaker.
60 something yards.
He can turn a little
Yeah.
5-yard slant coming out of the slot into a 15 or 20-yard gain.
Not going to get you a huge game, but he's going to get you a nice game.
Yeah.
Speaking of huge games, man, Devontae Freeman, he was a leading scorer in fantasy.
Who, again,
Number one, not
who
just
saw
running
it?
backs, overall.
Who saw it coming? Nobody.
Some people did. I saw some people start him. They were braver than I was.
Because they don't
I
have a
wouldn't have started
choice.
him.
Sometimes when you draft somebody
true.
in the 8th round as a running back, you
Yeah.
don't expect him to be the top scorer in the league for that week. But
Speaking of drafting it, man, Andy Dalton wasn't even drafted. He wasn't even drafted in any
he's
any
on
drafts.
a lot of people's waiver wires. He's available in 47% of leagues. He's only 53% owned, and he blew up and was the number 5 scorer overall.
And we're
this
gonna. I
week.
mean, you're seeing some of the top scorers. These are all unexpected scores. All of these players, and I'm saying players, even though the Arizona Cardinals defense is on there, players had at least 2 touchdowns, including the Arizona Cardinals defense.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
had
this
2
is just
touchdowns.
amazing. The Cardinals 30 points. Joseph Randle 28
Yeah.
points. LeGarrette Blount had 27 points. Chris Johnson had 27 points. All of them at least 2 touchdowns. So that was awesome.
Yeah. Yep. And as we have unexpected outbursts of scoring, again another week 3 unexpected injury.
Yeah.
You hate to see it happen. Big Ben goes down on a football play. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a football injury, just a
And-
roll
and
up.
he's going to be out at least 6 weeks. So if you have Big Ben, you're a little nervous. Somebody over here.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
I went big on Big Ben.
You know, so you're definitely nervous. You're wondering what to do if you have somebody like Tyrod Taylor on your bench
Then you're
because you
set.
picked them up, then you're good. If you have another quarterback, then you're good. If you don't, we're going to talk about a few waiver wire ads that you definitely want to go and take a look at.
Yep. Including
Yep.
Andy Dalton.
Andy Dalton, which is we just spoke about.
Yep.
Andy Dalton is owned in 53% of leagues.
Yep.
So he's available in some leagues. If you have Big Ben and you can afford to drop an underperforming player, I would say keep Big Ben if you can. If you have to drop him, then, I mean, you have to drop him. If you're just in a really deep league where you can't afford to drop one of your bench players, then definitely drop Big Ben, get Andy Dalton. You have a choice. You can go get Derek Carr as
Derek
well.
Carr's got Chicago this
He's
week.
got a great matchup. So definitely two players that you can replace Big
Yeah.
Ben. I mean, there's some options. Those are the two guys
Yeah.
that I would go pick up. And
Well,
if Tyrod Taylor is not available on the waiver wire.
Absolutely. Some other great pickups this week. A guy that I had faith in last year.
Yeah,
I actually drafted him.
He did.
And rode him for 2 weeks, and then he started to kind of teeter off. Was Alan Hearns. And he's starting
He had
to
him
make
longer than 2 weeks, but he's gonna say that
I
he
held
was a
out
smart
hope.
one and
I
dropped
held
him
out
early.
hope.
Yeah, Alan Hearns was he was a hype from week 1 last year. He really didn't do anything the rest
Well,
of
the
the year. He had a
Jaguars
couple
really didn't
games.
do anything last
That's
year.
very true.
But right now he's starting to become a possession receiver. He's getting 60 yards a game 3 weeks in a row. He scored a touchdown this week. He's getting anywhere between 6 and 9 looks, 10 looks.
And he's had 60 yards for each of the first 3 games. So he's definitely somebody that you want to take a look at.
Yep.
Another guy that we talked about last week is Travis Benjamin. He had a decent game.
I think that he's got a better chance of racking up some big yards and getting a lot of touches and a lot of looks when Johnny Football's out there.
Yeah.
Johnny Football loves to play that schoolyard football and sling it down the field.
Just run around and just
that's
throw
where
it up there.
Travis Benjamin has made his bread and
He's a
butter is
speedster.
when Johnny Manziel was touched.
Yeah, he's a speedster, but not only that, he also returns punts.
Yeah.
So that's a plus. Definitely
dual threat.
go take a look at him. He's probably already owned in your league, but if he's still there, go pick him up.
Yep.
We talked about him earlier, Lance Dunbar.
Yep.
He's only owned in
17% of leagues.
17% of leagues. He's a great ad in PPR leagues.
Yeah.
If in standard league, if you're in a deep league, then you pick him up. I'm talking about like more than 12 teams.
Yeah.
Then you go get Lance Dunbar. But standard leagues, 10-team leagues.
Well, even
go pick him up in PPR.
even a cheap daily fantasy pickup.
Yep.
100 yards and 10 catches. Most of those daily fantasies give full point PPR.
Yeah.
He's a 20-point guy, and he was probably only $3,000. In
He was
pickups.
probably one of the cheapest, if not
Yeah.
the cheapest running back in the
Great
daily fantasy
ROI
leagues.
for that.
Yep, absolutely.
Charles Clay, he finally had a great game. He was trending up the whole time. He's starting to develop his chemistry with Tyrod Taylor.
I gotta say, I was not a believer in Charles Johnson. I told this guy he's
Charles
not gonna
Clay.
do. I'm sorry, Charles Clay. I told this guy he's
Still
not gonna
not
do
voting
anything,
for
man.
Charles
I don't want to talk about Charles Johnson. Charles Clay had a really nice game with
Yep.
Sammy Watkins out.
Yep.
I love Charles Clay.
Yep.
He said last week to pick him up. He kind of mentioned it to me. We didn't put him on the show. If you did add him, you were like yay because he had a nice game.
Yeah.
But definitely he's warranted
Yep.
a pickup this week for sure.
Yep. And he's only owned in 18% of leagues, so he's probably available. Some other great guys, we already mentioned Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Marvin Jones. He's hopefully going to have the season that we thought he was going to have last year. After he got his broken foot and was basically
Absolutely. I mean, I love Marvin Jones. His role has increased every week since week 1. He was like Mike mentioned. He was supposed to be a breakout candidate last year because the year before that, when he actually got hurt, he had 10 touchdowns in like 6 games. He had 4 touchdowns in 1 game, which is
on
the
fire.
bulk of his. Yeah, he was on fire.
Everybody was going AJ who.
Yeah. So, but he's a great ad, especially with AJ taking up all the attention. You definitely want to go look at him.
Carlos Williams this week.
I
LeSean
love Carlos
McCoy
Williams.
might not play. So if you have Carlos Williams, or if you have LeSean, handcuff Carlos Williams now.
Yeah, I think Carlos Williams is like the number 11 running back in fantasy right now,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. Yeah, like he said, LeSean's not going to probably play, so he's a great ad.
Yep. Rashard Matthews from Miami. He wasn't really on anybody's radar until this week, and then he blew
He's
up.
steadily climbing. Well, he had a
Yeah.
nice game last week, and he's steadily climbing. He had a huge game this past week.
Yeah.
The only bright spot in Miami's offense. I don't even want to think about the rest of their offense because I have Lamar Miller in one of my leagues. Can we do redraft? Is there
No third
You
week.
sure?
No third week
Oh,
redrafts.
man.
Derek Carr, another great quarterback ad. He's owned in 27% of leagues. He's got a great matchup against Chicago, and Chicago's selling the farm on defense, so he should be picking them apart.
Anybody
pretty
that plays
easily.
Chicago seems like they're just fantasy gold. Hauschka had a huge game, and he was a kicker. One sneaky ad that if you're in a really deep league, or if you just want to, think a few weeks ahead, Devontae Parker. His role has also increased every single week. He was hurt in the preseason. He was a first-round pick. Now, if I were you, I would pick up Rashard Matthews, trade him because he had a huge game, and then pick up Parker. I think Parker is going to end up being maybe not the top receiver because Jarvis Landry's still there, but I think he'll be definitely the number 2 receiver there by the end of the year.
Interesting call.
Hey, that's just me.
So, after all that information, all that knowledge to digest, we have a couple of guys that have made the list for this week's segment of
Start That Fool.
All right, Steve. So, Jeremy Hill. A lot of guys were picking him up early second round. How do you feel about Jeremy Hill this week against Kansas City?
Well, Jeremy Hill was a top 10, maybe top 15 pick in most drafts, but I say sit that fool.
Brandon Marshall at Miami. Actually, at London.
In London, yeah. They're the road team, but really they're both the road teams.
Yeah.
I love Brandon Marshall. I mean, Eric Decker's he didn't play last game. He's banged up. Start that fool.
All right. C.J. Anderson. Could we maybe see another possibility of a breakout week?
Well, we had him last week, and that didn't pan out so well.
No, I missed one.
I love C.J. Anderson, but sit that fool.
Oh, damn.
He's on my bench.
Latavius Murray.
Well, we talked about the Bears earlier. Start that fool.
All right. Carlos Williams.
Another guy that definitely start that fool.
Nice. Chris Ivory.
Chris Ivory, now, he was active last week, but he did not touch the ball. He didn't get in the game at all. I think it was just more maybe trickery, head games for sure. But this week, I like him. Start that fool.
All right. Percy Harvin, my boy.
Percy Harvin, I didn't really like him at all, but the Giants are a little soft on defense, so start that fool.
All right. Matt Jones.
Okay, Matt Jones kind of burned some people last week. He had a huge game the week before that. But I'm going to say start that fool.
All right. And Arian Foster, if he plays in Atlanta.
Now, if Arian Foster plays, that's a no-brainer. You start him. However, I was talking to him earlier, and I said if he's questionable come Sunday morning, just temper your expectations a little bit, because if they're waiting that long, I'm going to be a little worried. I'm still going to start him. I mean, Atlanta's defense is horrible against the run.
Which could also be head games, too. If
Yeah.
they're waiting that long to declare him eligible, have the other team, chomping at the bit, hanging on every press conference word that comes out of Atlanta.
He's a stud. I mean, you start him. Against the Falcons, if it was like the Jets, I would be a little scared. But the Falcons, man, he could trip and get 50 yards and a touchdown. He could keep tripping and do that. So I'm good with that.
All right. So now we get to some difficult conversations for you. We have a guy in our league who he's 3-0. We had to coax him and beg him to join our work league because we were one man short. He held off until the last possible second, never played fantasy football before. We told him we'd take him under our wing, we'd teach him a little bit. And
he kept asking questions. He was just like, so how do I do this? What do we do for the draft?
Week 1, you drew the short straw, and you had him week 1.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I was projected. That was my easiest win of the week.
Well, his draft grade, he was projected to go 2-11.
Yes.
So you had him week 1.
Mm-hmm.
and he got you.
He did. I got a little cute, and I sat Carlos Hyde. Yes, I was that person.
Yep.
I sat Carlos Hyde, the highest fantasy scorer in the league. I sat him, and I lost by 3 points.
And after your finish from
done with
last
this
year,
segment yet?
no
Are
man,
we-
I
no?
got more
Are we-
questions for
oh,
you.
man.
After your finish from last year, you were the highest fantasy scorer in the league. You came in second place. He came in a little high on emotions Monday after week 1 beating you. Started talking week 2.
Man, he was calling himself the champ. Come on, you're saying
After
you're
week
saying
1.
he was talking. He was calling himself the champ after
After
week
week
1.
Week 2, he came out and he scored 150 points. And then it got a little
every
ridiculous.
week he's getting a little more annoying.
And check out his week 2 taunts.
This week, 200 points. 50 points from my kick you up.
To stay in first.
And when can I trade these defenses?
So you see what we've been dealing with. You know, he's saying his kicker's going to score all these points. He's going to do all this stuff. And we kept telling him, you know what, man? You're getting lucky.
Yeah, you're getting lucky. It doesn't happen, not 3 times in a row. Stop. Well, his prediction came true, and last week he blew the
did.
scoreboard up for 223 points in our league.
Remember we talked about that Cardinals defense? Yeah, he started them.
He started them. Remember
Larry
Greg
Fitzgerald?
Olson?
Yeah. Greg Olson, he started them.
He had them all, and he blew that scoreboard up. And
Now-
this is how he
now-
was after that week.
Yeah. So you can see what we've been dealing with. I mean, you saw his prediction.
Yep, he
The
came
crazy,
true.
it did come true.
He
I mean,
called it.
He called it. He scored over 200 points.
Nobody can believe it.
I still can't believe it, and I was watching it. You know, but it's still week 3.
Yeah.
You know, or week 4 now. It's
Yeah.
only 3 weeks into the books.
Yep.
A lot of things can happen. You know, a lot of times I started out 6-0 in one league once, and you know I ended up 9-7.
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of things can happen. Don't
Act like you've been there before.
don't act like you're the champ after 3 weeks. You know, and I know for me, I was looking at him, and you know what he's doing right now.
I don't.
Man, that dude's acting real brand new.
So if you have someone in your office, in your friends league, somebody that you got contact with all the time, and they are
Someone
talking,
who's flexing their muscles,
some
saying that they're the champ.
mad smack talk to you, send us a shout. Let us know who they are. Let us call them out. Let us bring them back down to earth for you, and feature them here on this segment.
Yeah, and you know he did beat the defending champion. You know, so he has that going for him, but he's not the champ.
No,
you know,
not yet.
You know, our buddy Oscar is still the champ. Shout out to David though, who
Yep.
had the 200
Great job,
points.
David.
He's a Raiders fan, so he's just doubled high right now. You know, he's living on that huge game that he had, and the Raiders won, so he's
Yep.
loving life right now.
So you guys, that's all we have for you this week.
Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Fantasy Rush LATV. Send us all your questions at fantasyrush@latv.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're already watching. Go ahead and go subscribe.
You know where to click. All right, guys, that's all we have. Thanks for watching. Good luck in week 4 and get that W.
Go get it. See you later.